People are leaving the country in record numbers.
New Zealand workers are more pessimistic on the jobs market.
Tens of thousands of Kiwis packed their bags and jetted off to live overseas in 2024.
The world's paradise is turning into a prison. For years, this was the place everyone dreamed of. A safe, calm paradise. A country of breathtaking nature and a happy life. But today, something terrible is happening.
Yeah, I know a lot of girls that go to uni that have to provide for their families as well, and they have to skip school and stuff like that to be able to have food and dinner on the table and stuff like that.
People are leaving in record numbers. Families are struggling just to buy food. Young people have given up on the dream of owning a home. The hope that once filled this country is gone. In just a few years, New Zealand has become a place where its own people can no longer afford to live. The question is, what happened to this paradise? The answer is shocking, and it could happen to your country too.
The equivalent of this entire stadium and more leaves every year to permanently live in Australia.
Just over 130,000 left in the year to April, the highest number over 12 months. And the majority are Kiwis, more than 80,000, exceeding the previous record of almost 72,500 New Zealand citizens.
Statistics New Zealand data shows record numbers of people leaving the country. In the last year, over 130,600 people departed New Zealand, the highest number ever recorded. Think about that for a moment. That's like an entire city's worth of people packing their bags and leaving. But the most alarming number isn't the total number of people leaving. It's the number of people the country is losing for good.
It wasn't our first option to leave New Zealand.
Migration loss of just over 47,000 New Zealand citizens last year.
Over the past year, New Zealand has seen a net migration loss of over 52,500 citizens. This means that when you subtract the number of New Zealanders who returned from overseas from the number who left, the country still lost almost 50,000 of its own people. This isn't just a small group of people looking for an adventure. This is a massive, record-breaking exodus. They're not just leaving, they're escaping.
Our responsibility is to build the proposition of the country so that people actually choose to stay here because they can see a future for themselves and for their grandkids, and that's what we wake up each day trying to do.
The main destination for those leaving? Australia. In 2024, New Zealand had a net migration loss of about 30,000 people to Australia. This is the largest loss to our neighbor since 2012.
And based on the latest estimates, most crossed the ditch, moving to Australia.
Feeling it even more in New Zealand than you do in Australia. Of course, we've had the same challenges around inflation and cost of living here, housing, all the same challenges, but they're feeling it more in New Zealand.
This isn't just random movement. The numbers tell a very clear story. People are actively choosing a new home where a nurse, a teacher, or an engineer can earn around 25 to 50% more for the same job. Imagine that. You're doing the same work, but you can get a paycheck that is a quarter bigger. When prices are going up every single day, that extra money is a lifesaver. This is a massive brain drain as the country loses its most skilled and important workers. These are the people who run the hospitals, teach the children, and build the future. Without them, the country is in deep trouble. But why is Australia so much better? It all comes back to a single deadly problem that started right here in New Zealand.
Over the past few years, there's been a steady increase in rental prices nationwide, including in key education hubs like Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington and Christchurch.
The first and biggest problem is the housing market. New Zealand's homes have become some of the most expensive in the world. Since the year 2000, house prices have gone up 4 times faster than people's paychecks. To put it simply, people's money couldn't keep up with the cost of a home. A young person today might feel like they are giving up on the dream of owning a home. It's no longer a question of when they can buy a house, but if they ever can.
They found the average house price in New Zealand has grown by almost $400,000 in that period.
Let's look at the numbers to see how bad it really is. The average salary in New Zealand is around 65,852 New Zealand dollars per year. But in the biggest city, Auckland, the average house price is about 990,000 New Zealand dollars. To put that in simple terms, a house in Auckland costs more than 14 times the average yearly income. Imagine if you had to save every single dollar you earned for over 14 years just to buy a house, with no money for food, rent, or anything else. This is completely insane. This is why the government's efforts have failed. A new society of owners and forever renters is being created. But if buying a house is impossible, surely renting is a good option? Not even close. It's just as bad, and it's trapping a whole generation.
On average, those living in a shared flat spend 56% of their weekly income on rent.
Renting is a trap. The average weekly rent in Auckland is about 650 New Zealand dollars, and the national average is roughly 575 New Zealand dollars per week. This is a massive amount of money that leaves people with nothing at the end of the month. The numbers are shocking. Almost 46% of people who rent spend more than 30% of their money on housing, and about 1 in 4 renters spend over 40%. This is a huge share of their income, leaving very little money for food, clothes, or other important things. This isn't just about money, it's about a person's entire quality of life. High housing costs are causing serious stress and reducing overall happiness for many New Zealanders. But these high costs didn't come from nowhere. They are the result of 3 specific things that happened in New Zealand. The first is a simple problem, but it caused a disaster.
It looks to me like we're building up for the next housing shortage.
The first reason is a severe supply shortage, and it's a topic of huge debate. One chief economist estimates that New Zealand is short by around 65,000 homes, with construction simply not keeping up with demand.
The property development has basically stopped, not because of finance, not because of the economic situation, but poor infrastructure planning.
Lack of infrastructure is the bottom line.
Yet other reports show a confusing picture. Between 2018 and 2024, the number of new homes actually grew faster than the population. So if more homes are being built than there are people, why does everyone feel like there's a shortage? The truth is, most of those homes are not being built where people want to live. In big cities like Auckland, the demand for housing is still much higher than the supply. This means more people are fighting over a limited number of houses, which naturally makes prices go up. The government's slow rules and strict building process have made it hard to fix this problem fast enough. But a shortage alone wouldn't have caused this much damage. The second reason is a big mistake by the central bank. It was a mistake that made the housing bubble explode.
It's in line with expectations. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand decided to keep the current monetary support with the official cash rate unchanged at 0.25%.
For many years, New Zealand's central bank kept interest rates very low. This made it very cheap for people to borrow money for a home loan. When borrowing money is cheap, people can take out bigger loans, which makes them spend more on houses. This made the housing market crazy. During the COVID-19 pandemic, interest rates went lower, sometimes as low as 1.99%. In just 2 years, from 2020 to 2021, the average house price jumped by 32.3%. This created a huge housing bubble that no one could afford. It was a bubble that the government helped create by making it so easy to borrow money. And as prices went up, it attracted a new type of buyer who made the problem even worse.
Well, the housing dream continues to soar out of reach for many, with the latest data showing prices continuing to climb. House prices rose by 16.1% in the year to March. That's the biggest leap since 2006.
Many people started buying houses not to live in them, but as a way to make money. They saw houses as a great investment. This meant that regular families who wanted to buy their first home had to compete with rich investors. This created a new kind of society in New Zealand. A small group of owners who are getting richer, and a large group of forever renters who are being left behind. The government tried to stop this with new rules, but it was already too late. The damage was done. But the housing crisis is only one part of the problem. A different kind of crisis has made everything else in New Zealand too expensive to buy.
Food prices were up 4.6% in the year to June.
Consumer prices rising at an annual rate of 7.2%.
A deadly mix of high prices and low wages has gripped New Zealand. In mid-2022, consumer prices went up by 7.3%. That was the highest in 32 years. The cost of everything, from building a house to buying food and gas, skyrocketed. This made people's money worth a lot less.
Cost of living is the main issue for New Zealanders at the moment.
Labor let inflation get to 7.3% and stay out of target band for 3 years.
We recognise that things are tough.
The government's finance minister at the time said, "There are no simple fixes." But even though inflation has gone down a little recently, prices are still much, much higher than they were just a few years ago. Many families are still trying to catch up from this sudden rise in the cost of living. They are paying more for the same things, and their quality of life is going down. This explosion in prices wouldn't be so bad if people were getting paid more. But that's the final piece of this tragic puzzle. The money they earned was not keeping up.
A quarter of New Zealanders are struggling with the cost of living.
Just over 1,000 New Zealanders shows nearly half, 47%, are worried about job security, and 1 in 4 are struggling with the cost of living.
For a long time, people's wages in New Zealand simply couldn't keep up with the rising costs. In 2021 and 2022, wages only went up by around 4 to 5%, while inflation was at 6 to 7%. This means that most people took a real pay cut. Imagine working just as hard, but your money buying less and less. That's what happened to many Kiwis.
17% rise for fruit and vegetables, and that's only over a 3-month period in the September quarter. So inflation's come in a lot hotter than expected for the New Zealand economy.
Even with recent pay increases, an average of 7.6% in late 2023, wages are only just now getting back to where they were before the inflation crisis began. Many households are now worse off in terms of disposable income. This problem is now causing a collapse in the very services that keep New Zealand running. This is where the story gets even more serious. The country is not just losing money, it's losing the people who make it work.
Brain drain across the Tasman is not a new thing.
As people just leave for the opportunity.
As the healthcare sector continues to struggle with worker shortages, figures from Australia reveal that since August, 5,000 nurses have registered to work there.
The brain drain is now a real crisis. Essential services are struggling because they can't find enough skilled workers. The healthcare system is collapsing. In the last year, almost 12,000 nurses registered to work in Australia. That's a 53% surge in just 1 year. This has left hospitals dangerously understaffed and has put patient safety at risk.
But in New Zealand, the ministry is projecting it's 1,250 teachers short of what's needed.
The education system is also in trouble. The country is short of 1,250 teachers for 2025. This means bigger class sizes and fewer choices for students. The tech and IT industries are also struggling, with more than 50% of their workers being immigrants. The country is not creating enough skilled workers of its own. This is a vicious cycle. It's hard to keep critical workers when they can earn more and afford housing more easily elsewhere. Yet, their departure makes life tougher for everyone who remains. All these problems, people leaving, high costs, and worker shortages, are now making the entire economy sick.
Here we are again. New Zealand is in a technical recession after 2 quarters of negative growth, following a 1.1% fall in the June quarter.
The New Zealand economy has fallen into a recession. GDP contracted by 1.1% in one quarter and another 1.0% in the next. This is the steepest drop since 1991. The construction, manufacturing, and retail sectors have all been hurt. The government even had to admit that the economy was dramatically worse than anyone had expected. The New Zealand economy is now smaller than it was a year ago, which is a very rare event. This contraction, combined with the high cost of living and the loss of talent, underpins the stark video title claim. Many New Zealanders feel that living in New Zealand is no longer possible. So, what does this all mean for you? You might think this is just a New Zealand problem, but you'd be wrong. New Zealand is not unique. The same problems are starting to happen in many other countries. In Australia, Canada, and parts of the US, house prices are getting too high, wages are not keeping up, and skilled workers are leaving. It's like a virus spreading from one country to another. We've seen this happen in big cities like San Francisco or London, where only the very rich can afford to live. But what happened in New Zealand is different. It is a whole country becoming too expensive for its own people. The story of New Zealand shows us some clear warning signs that we all need to pay attention to. And the most important one is about how we build our communities. The story of New Zealand is a powerful warning for us all. When the cost of living goes up faster than paychecks, when essential workers leave for better lives, and when a government fails its people, that's a system on the brink of collapse. We track these stories to help you understand what's happening in the world and what might be coming next. If you want to stay informed, subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in the next one.